Characterization of Puritan culture and communities. Hawthorne places the setting of his novel in an early Puritan settlement in the Massachusetts Bay Colony. His plot follows the interactions between a Puritan woman, the two men she had relationships with, the community, and her young child. Hawthorne highlights the flaws of Puritan society as well as praises the positive traits. He reveals the intertwined church and state and emphasizes the Puritans' wish to establish a physical utopia. Chapters 1 through 5. In these chapters especially, Hawthorne characterizes the Puritan community in a negative light. He focuses on criticisms of the theocratic government system, as well as the lifestyles of the Puritan people. He highlights the hypocrisy of the people as they shame Hester for what they consider to be an extremely sinful action, yet still desire her skill and expertise as a seamstress. He contrasts the idea of a utopian society that the Puritans sought to execute with the ugly truths of their harsh punishments and oppressive ideals. Hawthorne also characterizes and praises the community for being quite stable. While the colony has existed only for a short period of time, they have managed to develop a fully functioning government system and remain strong in numbers, a rarity for New World settlements. In addition to this, he reveals their stability through the strict enforcement of laws, customs, and cultural practices. Hawthorne characterizes the Puritans early on as having very specific preferences relating to holy and blessed relationships. He faults the Puritans for this situation based on the fact that they recognize the loveless and mutually detrimental relationships on account of marriage between Hester and Chillingsworth, rather than the loving relationship between Hester and Dimmesdale. His characterization of strict ideals extends into the Puritan view of how children should be brought up. Through this direct ordeal, he portrays the Puritans as haughty and arrogant. He also focuses on the cultural basis of a strong spiritual upbringing of children and the desire to have all conform to the wants of a certain society. In Chapter 7, in particular, Hawthorne makes a strong judgment on Puritan society and government. He notes that leaders and members of the community have looked down upon people for generations, and have gotten so wrapped up in their belief of being superior that not much else of their personality remains for others to view or remember. Another major part of Puritan culture he emphasizes is the relationship with sin. Hawthorne praises the Puritans for their disdain towards sin and evil in human personality, but he finds fault in their practices to eradicate sin. In fact, this novel seeks to prove that sin is not always as black and white as one might believe. He highlights that evil exists, but also that it is possible that perception can affect how and what one views to be evil. Hawthorne also establishes his belief that the Puritans were inhuman in their punishments and often defeated their intended goal of eradicating sin by inflicting these severe penalties for crimes. Hawthorne focuses mostly on the composition of Puritan family dynamics and accepted forms of relationships in chapters 13 to 18. He characterized the Puritans as focused solely on cultivating powerful and spiritually positive relationships that have been noted in the scripture, specifically that between a father, mother, and their children. This makes his unique placement of Hester and Pearl's mother-daughter relationship more important to the development of the novel as the child is most likely the only one in Puritan society who has grown to adulthood with just one parent. His focus on relationships also delves into the topic of Puritan emotions. While Puritans are often described as having stoic personalities, he endows his characters with a variety of emotions to make them more human. He also characterizes the Puritans as having developed a functioning society with a large amount of social stigmas with deadly punishments. This secular religious group has melded the religion and government together, and thus acts as a community and as a large unified congregation. Hawthorne places specific interest on understanding this community as having a singular mindset, making strong commentary about these people's deep desire to be considered elect and their unending devotion to their church, that could have at times been especially detrimental to their personalities and psychological growth. Wait. Yeah, we're on this one. Alright. Hawthorne focuses in these chapters on many cultural practices and prominent events found in Puritan society. In these last 6 chapters alone, he has 3 major scenes that take place at or near a major Puritan social site. The scenes at the governor's election party, the scaffold scenes, and the religious ceremony and sermon are all prominent Puritan social gatherings. By amassing the population at these locations, he highlights their often critical reactions to the events occurring around them, as well as their quick changing idea of beliefs based on religion mindsets. Hawthorne characterizes the Puritans by using their traditional characters and focuses on their wish to purify the world around them. even though it might be at the expense of others or deny specific truths. He also characterized the Puritans in these group settings as a faithful flock. Dimmesdale parishioners refused to tarnish the name of their beloved pastor even after his death, and they have high regard for those in the government and positions of spiritual importance. Their solemnness during the governor's celebrations also directly correlates to many historical descriptions of this group's stern and strict attitude towards events. It is also likely that Hawthorne comments on the idea of Puritan elect by establishing a positive legacy for Hester and Dimmesdale even after committing a deadly sin. That's all, folks.